is a monthly subscription vitamin service that delivers completely personalized vitamins and supplement packs right to your door. With the new year upon us, you can make 2020 the year to prioritize yourself and commit to staying on top of your health. Instead of that laundry list of resolutions you don't end up sticking with, Karaf can make taking your vitamins and supporting your health goals attainable. Karaf's fun online quiz makes it super easy by asking about your diet, health goals, and lifestyle choices. It takes only 5 minutes to find out your personal, scientifically backed vitamin and supplement recommendations. It can be really hard to know what vitamins or supplements you should be taking, but Karaf makes it easy to find out what you specifically need to be at your healthiest. I took the quiz myself to see what signing up would be like, and it's really informative, user-friendly, and quite fun. Because my family and I had some of the worst luck last year with getting the flu constantly, my goal this year is to boost my immunity and regulate my sleeping patterns. To access Karaf and get 50% off your first month of personalized Karaf vitamins, go to takecareof.com and enter BeScared50. I hope you guys take Karaf up on their generous offer. And without further ado, let's begin. This took place around 2 years ago. I was driving to work, a 5-hour drive, and it was already dark after about 3 hours of driving. I started to get tired, so I bought myself a coffee and some snacks at a gas station and continued on. But snacks and coffee can only keep you awake for so long, and I started feeling tired again. This part of the road was nothing but thick, dark pine wood forest around me. No other cars on the road, nothing, only insects smashing against my windshield now and then, and an empty road. I was now extremely tired, and at one point, I even nearly drove off the road from almost falling asleep. I thought to myself that I had to sleep now and couldn't wait for a gas station. I needed to stop as soon as I saw a place where I could park my car and just rest. When I'm tired, I unfortunately fall asleep really fast. If I'm tired enough, I can fall asleep in the middle of a sentence, even while talking, so it was urgent for me to find a place to stop. It felt like maybe an hour, but probably just 5 minutes went by, and I spotted this little pocket in the road. It was like a parking space for quick stops, like peeing, switching drivers, or stuff like that. Not even a real resting area. But I stopped there, rolled down my windows to check if I heard any weird noises, and there was total silence. So I rolled up my windows again. I thought to myself that nothing bad was going to happen. I hadn't seen a car for like 30 minutes, in fact. The road was empty, and if someone checked out my car, I bet it was the cops checking if I was all right. So I left my keys in the ignition and locked the doors just to be safe. I adjusted my seat back to make it more comfortable to sleep in, took off my shoes and put them on the passenger seat to the right. Let me tell you, it was so nice to close my eyes, and instantly I fell asleep. I don't know why, but something woke me up. I couldn't really see anything. Some kind of bright light hit me in the eyes. At first I thought it was a flashlight, but then I realized it was the high beams from another car in my rearview mirror that was blinding me. I looked at my left mirror and saw a dude walking up beside my car. Maybe he wanted help with something. Should I make it clear to him that I'm in here? He was right beside my left back door now. Should I step out and ask what he was doing? Didn't have to in the end, because the dude proceeded to jerk and pull on my left back door. I almost crapped my pants when I realized he was trying to force his way into my car. The next one, nothing physically happened, but for some reason, I just couldn't shake the feeling that someone was in my room. The room seemed small, dense, and crowded, even though I was the only one in it. It bothered me enough that I told my mum, and she smudged my room and sat with me for a while. The next was about a week after that. It was a warm night, so I had my window open, and I woke up to a lot of flies in my room. I got up and closed my window, and when I sat back on my bed, the window was a little bit open again. I stared at it in case it moved again, and it actually started to move open on its own. It moved up another inch or so by itself. At that point, I ran out of my room and slept next to my parents. After that one, things started to pick up a little. I had a big plush wolf that my brother had won at a fair at one point, and it sat in my room against the wall farthest from my bed, a good 6 feet or so away. I woke up one morning at dawn, and the wolf was now at the foot of my bed. When I was lying down, I could just see its beady little eyes poking over the top of the quilt. I still don't know how it moved across my room like that, but it scared me so bad that my mom gave it to Goodwill that afternoon because she refused to have it in the house. Another time, I was sleeping on the couch in the living room while my mum was busy with something. I slept there for 3 days, and every night I would feel someone walking past me. I pretended to be asleep, but narrowly opened my eyes and could never see anyone, even though I was sure I could feel someone there. But one night, the video recorder kept turning on by itself. I'd turn it back off, and it would turn back on again. But the last thing I encountered was another sleep one, and it was when I was about 19. I still remember the dream because I was walking home from my elementary school and was being followed by someone, but they were always just too far away to make out any features. I made it back to my house, and nobody was home. In my dream, I lay down on the couch, and then the whole house was engulfed in flames, and the guy who followed me home was standing in the fire. I woke up really abruptly, and I saw the head and shoulders of an oldish man standing over my bed. It took maybe 15 seconds or so before it faded, but it was vivid enough that I actually said, "Who's there?" out loud. I know it wasn't sleep paralysis because I could definitely move. Nothing ever happened after that, and I've moved out now. A few years after I moved out, they pulled up the carpet in my brother's room and found what looked like the ruins of a wine cellar under a trap door on the floor. But it had a little box of curious things from the 50s and 60s in it, and some scraps of comic strips, like it was used as a cubby at some point. Anyway, I never found any more information on it, but I'll never forget those nights I was living there. So I used to live in the southwest corner of Missouri, an old railroad town that had quite a few missing people here and there, mostly due to a high tweaker population. I lived in what we called a holler, at the bottom of 2 enormous hills. A creek also ran through the holler, but was mostly dry. This happened a couple of months ago now, but when it first happened, given how crazy it was, it took me a few weeks to collect myself enough to share this. It's relevant to tell you up front that I'm a military veteran with PTSD, anxiety, and a pretty bad case of depression that I'm in my 3rd year of dealing with. I've read that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, can massively improve PTSD symptoms and help reduce anxiety. So I've been trying various techniques at home. The problem is that my wife and I live in a small 2-bedroom, ground floor flat with an upstairs neighbor who has absolutely no concept of other people. A jock douchebag type who's a personal trainer, but he trains at home for games and whatnot. The kind of guy whose only 2 topics of conversation are protein powder and steamed rice. You can imagine the type. With that being a constant issue, meditation and quiet mindfulness are just not possible with the noise. My solution was to do my normal routine during the day, but take advantage of my insomnia later on. Around 12 o'clock at night, I suppose. I'd put on my coat and shoes, and since we live near the beach, I figured I could walk there when pretty much no people are around, walk on the sand, and be mindful of the sounds of the ocean. Sounds nice, doesn't it? It was the first 2 times, but you know what they say, the third time's a charm. The walk to the beach from home isn't far, maybe a little over half a mile, but once I got there, I'd walk to the very end until you reach the cliffs where there's a World War II artillery gun turret, which was another half-mile-ish. Sometimes I'd walk the path up the cliff to the gun and stare out into the blackness of the midnight ocean, broken only by the occasional flash from the lighthouse. I'd sit and listen to the waves crashing against the cliff sometimes. I'd close my eyes and concentrate on nothing but that sound. I felt safe there, knowing I was alone. It was just me and the ocean. Usually, before turning back and heading home, I'd walk down to a small row of benches. They're all marked with plaques in remembrance of someone who also enjoyed the view, though I imagine they came during the day. The benches are close to an old pub that shut down years ago. I heard the place used to be a dogging site or brothel back in the day. So when I saw vehicle headlights coming toward the pub, I figured it was some young lads trying to catch potential doggers. I sat at the bench and waited for the car to pass, but as it rounded a bend further up, I was momentarily lit up by the headlamps. The headlights went off immediately, and the car went off-road and out of sight for a moment. At this point, I was fully alert and cautious, so I dropped to one knee and ducked behind the bench I was sitting on. The vehicle drove past MIT, was only maybe 40 feet away, and as the lighthouse illuminated it, I could see it was an old beat-up Land Rover kind of vehicle with shitty camo paint on the wings. At that moment, somebody popped out of the top with a scoped rifle and a big torch. He was my first kiss and also my first abusive relationship. We started dating when I was a preteen. He was super attentive and protective from the beginning. It wasn't until the 5th month that I started noticing alarms going off loudly in my head. He had taken me on a cute roller skating date, and we sat down for a break when 2 of his friends showed up. At that point, the vibe from him was no longer safe. The smile he had 5 minutes before was replaced with a look of pure hatred. He switched into this odd predator mode and told me to kiss him with tongue in front of his friends. I told him I wasn't ready, especially not in front of others. He didn't like that and pulled my face to his, forcing his tongue into my mouth. I was a small girl, but managed to push him away long enough to run toward a more populated part of the rink. I told him to stay away while I waited for my mum to pick me up. I didn't tell my mum what happened because I was in shock and confused. I was young and didn't want to get in trouble for kissing a boy, so I decided to ignore him until I could process everything. A week of successfully avoiding him at school passed when he worked up the nerve to try again. He found me surrounded by friends and decided to try his luck. I didn't notice he was there until we were practically bumping elbows. Being that close put me on edge, and I nearly shit myself when he started speaking to me. It was pointless small talk until he realized. I still wonder about those kids and hope they ended up okay. I know they moved out at year's end, but I'm not sure if what I saw was attached to them or not. In fact, I'm still not sure what I saw. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Sorry if this is scrambled, but this is how it plays in my head. I still have nightmares about that girl. It's still frightening. This happened to me about 6 months ago. My boyfriend at the time and I were sitting in the living room of my apartment when I heard a knock at the door. My ex asked if I was expecting anyone, and I said no, but I'd check just in case. He stayed on the couch while I looked through the peephole. The apartment setup didn't allow him to see the front door from the living room. Outside, there were two people. A young African-American man, mid-20s, and a much older Asian man, about 6. For whatever reason, I decided to open the door. When I opened it, the young man said, "Hi, we're part of so-and-so religion and would like to talk to you about it. I have a 50-pound dog trying to get out." So I said, "Sure, hold on Niall. Come outside because my dog is trying to get out." But this was a huge mistake. I want to clarify, this was out of character for me. However, I'd recently become closer to God and wanted to give them a chance. I didn't believe harm would come from listening, so I stepped outside, closed the door, and listened. They said something about praying to Mary instead of God because she birthed Jesus, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I thanked them, and they said, "Thank you guys, stay safe." Out here, the Asian person visibly panicked and said things I didn't understand in another language. When I looked to the partner, he said, "No problem. Maybe you want a pamphlet though," I replied. Yeah, sure," not wanting to be rude and to research the religion I'd never heard of. The guy then said, "Okay, great. We have them in the car, you can come with us. We're parked right out front." This is when I felt weird. I lived on the 3rd story of a complex that wasn't the best, no cameras anywhere. Plus, why leave pamphlets in the car? If going door to door, it doesn't make sense to have every person come down, right? The parking spots outside were almost all handicapped, no one can park there. The Asian grabbed my arm and started directing me to the stairs. In a split second, I said, "You know what? I'm a Christian and very happy in my faith, but thank you both." The Asian said something again in a language I didn't understand. The man went, "Are you sure? We can get it fast. We're parked right there." My heart sank into my butt. I started sweating and looking for ways to remove myself from this grasp and situation. I know I looked panicked, and I was. What do I do? How to get away from the danger I put myself in? I wasn't thinking and blurted, "I was sure." Yanked my hand, he scratched me and bolted inside. I locked the door and my apologies if this is a little long, but I've never shared my stories with many people. I think this will be a great way to share with those who may relate. My partner and I moved into our first apartment together in Pasadena, CA. The unit was in an old home in a beautiful historic part of Pasadena. Our unit on the 3rd level, essentially a huge converted attic. The apartment was beautiful with lots of space. It had odd energy from the beginning, but my partner didn't believe in supernatural or paranormal. He'd joke when I commented on a space feeling heavy or intense. After a few weeks, things started. Doors moving back and forth or slamming shut. I'd comment, but he said probably wind. We had 2 balconies with air circulation. I noticed our cats were never inside there like dogs, always around me, cuddling, usually outside 1, 2, 3 hours a day. In this apartment, they'd be gone. All day, sometimes not back at night. I was trying to be chill because nothing dramatic yet. But one day, I left, and my partner was alone. He called scared. He saw a man in all black walk through the apartment into our bedroom. He ran in, saw the man walk to the balcony and fade away. He begged me home when I got back. He tried rationalizing something impossible. I told him past encounters with paranormal. He calmed. We slept. But this was the beginning of hell. I started hearing something walk and run up and down the stairs, always throughout night. starting around 2 a.m. I lost sleep, constantly opening bedroom door to check. Nothing there. Whole situation terribly frightening, spent life, try and move on. Never seen ghost, still haven't, but closest true paranormal experience. Occurred Tennessee summer 2006. Wife working nights, hospital living, remodeled house, small farm, number farming minus peach trees, backyard, small pond, leased acreage, cattle. Not important, convey. Actual event, not made up. Sitting off his computer one night, uploading resumes, probably looking naughty. Websites, don't recall, typical night. Around midnight, best remember. Distinct feeling, someone walked room. Felt warm hand, gently rest back, neck. Didn't register. Initially out place until remembered wife, worked 35 miles, would seen walk. Lived alone, no kids. Froze halfway expecting robbed. Slowly turned, chair empty, room, hair standing end. Guitar case strummed twice loudly. Never understood frozen fear until moment did, sensible. Ran backyard, spent surprisingly restful night. Hammock. Years later, tell story friends knew then, several independently relayed always. Uneasy feeling, house didn't want scare us. Lived for years, nothing else, except picture falling wall to a yem wire. Broken doesn't count. Story 100% true, UNEMBELLISHED. Met Herb Baumeister, killed 12 to 20 men. Met 1995, straight friendly gay bar, near house now defunct vast. Next couple years, many things happened, never doubt, existence, spirits. Things right, eyes front other people. Some possibly explained, someone doesn't believe, many crazy, anything else. Time saw couple weeks, died watching TV, living room. Lights off, only light glow, television. Wasn't expecting, really shocked, looked, saw, standing across next mum's recliner. Stood shirt wearing. Shirt hadn't seen wear since 9th grade. Forgotten, recognized, soon saw many bright colors. Back called clown shirt, sleeves, big stripes, blue, red, orange, rest yellow. See same shirt, yellow stripes, arms. See head, shoulders, only things weren't clear, face, legs. Dark brown hair cut short, see dark hair, forehead details, face dark. Before study, suddenly appeared gone. Why shirt, wondered. Seen where once everyone teased, ugly, never again. Only reason, think pic shirt showed, make sure attention. If definitely worked. Colors, shirt first caught eye. Things happened. Glass angel figurine, pretty big, least 9, 10.